Wait, I'm actually sharing the link to the Chiari Institute with somebody. I just need a copy and paste. Give me one sec.
Was somebody else joining us?
No. It's just somebody that's inquiring about Barcelona.
Yeah. Yeah, so the meeting link, you're sending that to them?
No, just the
the link to
information. Yes.
Gotcha.
Give me one second. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just going to watch the master at work.
Thank goodness for copy and paste.
Oh my God,
okay.
Yes.
There we go.
That is a real thing. How many times do you think you've copy and pasted that story?
Hundreds for sure.
Hundreds.
Definitely.
You're getting it done.
I think, honestly, probably, I don't know for sure, but I think I've probably had maybe 80 or 90 people go that I've spoken to over the past 2 years.
Are you keeping track of that?
That I can keep track of. Interestingly enough, I just saw a lady post on the Filum page that her daughter had pre-op today, surgery tomorrow. And I'm like, her name sounds familiar. So I went in my messages and I had been corresponding with her. I just forget.
You can't remember all of them. Yeah. Well, that's pretty incredible that you are making that kind of impact in that many people's lives. Like the amount of time that it must take you to, like, are you just mostly messaging them, or are you actually connecting with them like you did with me and like actually setting aside time to call and be on the phone? And,
a combination of both. I always tell I prefer to talk to somebody over the phone. It's just easier. Yeah. Instead of like trying to text all that information. Because sometimes I'm on the phone an hour and a half. I think you were on the phone with somebody for several hours recently.
Yeah, either on the phone or if they're nearby, I like to meet them in person. Yeah, I think I was with Jamie for like 5 hours or something. But I mean, you know how it is. Like once you get into the conversation, you're not putting brakes on it.
Right.
So it's
interestingly enough, I had a phone call from this gentleman, and he said, it was odd. He started it with, "You have sick kids," and I said, "Well, I did have sick kids."
Right.
With Chiari malformation. And he said, "My son was diagnosed and I found your name and phone number." And he said, "Can we ask you some questions?" I said, "Sure." I said, he said, "Can my ex-wife join?" I said, "Of course." And we talked for a few minutes and I said, "Where are you located?" He said, "Sandy Springs." I'm like, "You're like 15 minutes from me. Do you want to meet for lunch?" So we made an appointment to meet for lunch, walk in, and his ex-wife goes, "I know you." And I said, "I think I know you too." I said, "I painted your kitchen 5 years ago, her kitchen cabinets."
Are you serious? Oh my gosh.
My kids had not been diagnosed at the time. And obviously her son had not been diagnosed at the time.
Right.
And then here our paths crossed again. And they're in talks right now. I think they're getting the MRIs needed to send. In fact, I need to reach out to her and see where they are in that process.
Like at this point, like you need a CRM system just to keep track of like all the people you're helping like along the way, which is so cool. I think about you so often, and I don't know how you're doing it because I'm like, I know it's not a contest, but I am not able to communicate with as many people as you are.
Excuse me 1 second. Just turn it off and take the food out. Sorry. I forgot I had something in the oven.
Not a problem. You're getting ready for dinner. Are you always so prepared?
I try to be.
Wow.
I'm type A. We're actually, my husband and I are going out for dinner. I'm actually making dinner for Caroline. She's at work and I trying to be nice. Oh my
God, so thoughtful. Okay. Will you be my mom?
No, sure.
I mean, that sounded like I don't love my mom. My mom is also incredible.
I'm friends on Facebook with your mom.
She's such a wonderful person. Yeah, I'm not surprised. She'd probably just like hug you and never let go of you if she had the opportunity. Okay, so I don't know if I expressed, because this is how much of a mess I am. I don't know what I've said to who at what time, when. I'm clueless. I'm just like rolling through. So one thing that you and I have in common is that we deeply desire to make a big impact when it comes to Chiari malformation.
Yes.
And we have talked before about like, what's something big we can do? How can we do this in a big way? And, we're both doing everything we can. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out how can I communicate with more than one person at a time because of the time constraints and the energetic constraints that it takes to do this. So I thought, well, what about a podcast? You know, like I feel like it should be easy. I don't know if it'll be easy or not, like the technical side of it, because I am not a tech person. But
Oh,
I
it took
think
me
I have
4 hours to figure this out.
Oh
With the
no.
help of my husband. I don't even own a computer. It's my son's old computer. I'm like, what's the password to get into this thing?
Gotcha. Okay, well,
I do
just so
everything
you
on my
know,
phone.
you can do this on your phone too. Yeah,
Okay,
you can do a
that's
Google
good to
Meet on
know.
your phone. I just appreciate you taking the time to do this. So what I'm planning on doing is I think I'll be able to download this and edit it. I might not even edit it. I probably won't because I don't have time for that either. I'm probably just going to post this on YouTube and just start doing this. So
Well, and then what you need to do is go into all the Chiari groups
yep,
that you
share the
can,
page.
and
Here's the page, and here's the
yes,
information, and here's the
yes,
content that you can look through, so that we're putting stuff in a place that's organized enough that people can have access to what they really want, which is the stories.
exactly.
They don't want anything other. I mean, they want. I shouldn't say they don't want anything other than that, but it's the most meaningful thing to a parent to have, is to actually hear the stories and the detail and the nuance and the things that aren't going to come up in an appointment with your doctor. So so let me back up a little bit, because if this is a podcast, then we probably ought to do a little bit of introduction. So my name is Frankie Elder-Reedy, and my son, I always say, had Chiari
Mhm.
malformation because I feel like this is a past tense situation for us at this point. So if you're watching this, you probably either have Chiari malformation or you know someone who has Chiari malformation, and you've come to this for answers or some sort of guidance, maybe even for just symptom relief. And we're going to probably get to that in a moment. And then this is my friend Margo, who I met when I was searching for symptom relief, primarily for my son who is suffering from Chiari malformation. And I will just hand it over to you, Margo, so you can introduce yourself and let people know, like, how you even know what Chiari malformation is.
Okay, I'll try to make it brief, but
You
explain.
don't have to make it brief because I'm going to have some questions for
Okay,
you.
okay. I mean, our journey started probably about 3.5 years ago. I have 4 children. I have a set of triplets that are currently 25 years old. And one of my triplets began to have some neurological symptoms. Never had anything prior to that, but it started with numbness and tingling in her hands and feet, um, pressure headaches, muscle weakness, um, uh, ringing in her ears, double vision. And after 8 long months of trying to figure out what was wrong, I kind of gave up on the medical system, and my husband and I decided to go ahead and have an MRI done. We paid for it out of pocket, and that's when we were told she had Chiari malformation. Her neurologist, excuse me, said, "Oh, it's just something you live with," and I'm like, "She's deteriorating in front of our eyes. She's having seizures. She can't drive. We had to medically withdraw her from college." No, so obviously we saw another neurologist, and they referred us to a neurosurgeon who then said she needed brain decompression surgery. You know, in hindsight, looking back, I trusted the doctors. I didn't do
Sure.
a whole lot of research. I think the biggest thing is we felt like we had relief because we finally had an answer as to what was happening to her.
Mhm.
And we did move forward with the brain decompression surgery. It was barbaric. I think on day 3, they came in, they wanted to discharge her. I had to cry for them to keep her one more day because her pain level, she said, was a 13 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, wow.
Um, she eventually did heal, and was able to go back to college. And then I got that dreaded call 5 months later. My symptoms are back, and they were worse than before. And then she had new symptoms that she had never had before.
So let me, if you don't mind if I jump in there real quick,
No, go ahead.
because being on this side of it and having, talked to a few people, and one question I have about that is, you said you got the dreaded call and she said her symptoms came back. Was it, did it seem like they came back like really quickly? Like, or did they just kind of slowly come back?
I think they slowly came back,
Hmm.
but within a month, she came back from college, and I was shocked at how bad she looked. lot of nausea and vomiting. She had lost a lot of weight.
Oh, wow.
She was having migraines, which she had never had before. So we had to put her on a daily drug called Qulipta to try to help with that.
Yeah.
And I wanted her to withdraw from college again so that we could just get her fixed. And she was like, no, all of my friends are graduating and I don't want to go back by myself. I'm going to push through. So we ended up having to get her a handicap pass because she could barely walk.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's the part where she was worse than before. But during that 5-month period, I was still on the Chiari Facebook groups.
Yeah.
And I came across Michelle Gibson's story about how she had opted for a less invasive procedure in Barcelona. And I remember I said, I'm going to file that in the back of my head. If Caroline gets sick again, we'll research that option.
Yeah.
And I knew there was no way we were going decompression again because people do have multiple surgeries. We did reach out to her neurosurgeon. He said everything looked fine on his end. He doesn't know why she's, sick again. He released her as a patient, wouldn't see her anymore, and he told us to seek neurology for pain management.
Wow.
And that's when I decided to reach out to Michelle and the Institute and just kind of move forward with that. And I'll just say this, the one thing I think a lot of people forget about, the first thing I did when I thought we might actually consider this is I made sure everybody had a passport.
Yep.
Because if we were able to go, I wanted to be able to go. I didn't want anything to, stop it.
Yeah, that's such a great call out. And I'm assuming, because I don't remember all of the details, of course, of our call, but I did record it. And one of these days soon, I'm going to go back and I recorded it, like just the audio and of myself and I turned my video recorder on. So I was recording my reactions to what you were saying to me.
Oh, okay.
So you weren't on video or anything, but I'm assuming that you probably told me to have him go get his passport, because that's exactly what I did the next morning. I was like, I went in and I was like, hey, here's your paperwork. Here's your check. Here's the money.
Ours were expired, but my kids didn't have passports. So it was their first time.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, so when we're making arrangements to get her over there, her sister was having similar symptoms. So we paid, didn't feel like going through insurance. We paid to get the MRIs done. And Caroline's neurosurgeon and the radiologist said, nope, she doesn't have Chiari. But I'm like, she has all the symptoms. So I decided to send them to Barcelona, and they were like, yeah, she does have Chiari. So we decided, I told Anna, I said, we're not going to Barcelona twice. So here's your chance. So she was eligible for the procedure as well. And we left May 12th of 2023, and they had surgery, I believe, on May 16th of 2023. And it was just amazing. It was miraculous to see them have the lives that they used to have, come back right before your eyes. And the other thing too is we left Barcelona exactly 1 year to the day that Caroline had her decompression surgery.
Oh, I did not realize that. If you told me that, I forgot it.
I don't think I've ever shared that with anybody. But yeah,
really?
She had it May 25th, 2022, and we left Barcelona May 25th, 2023. And then just fast forward a little bit, 10 months after that, my son got diagnosed. So we did make that second trip back to Barcelona a few months later, and they're all doing great. And we don't even talk about it anymore. I talk about it on their behalf because I'm passionate about it. I feel like it's my mission. I made a promise to God that if it helped my girls, I would advocate for it. And that's what I do. And it makes me feel good, because if you can just help one person, it's worth it. Totally worth it.
100%. Yeah. And I think that hopefully, ideally, we can just do some easy little video, like interviews with some folks and get some more information out there and easily accessible for those who, like, I'm assuming that most of the people who are going to be watching these videos are going to be people who are either recently diagnosed, or they have already undergone decompression surgery and it hasn't gone well.
Correct.
And they're looking for something that can offer them a solution when they feel hopeless and helpless. And I remember that feeling very well. And it's so nice to be on the other side of it. It's hard not to get emotional thinking about it, because it is such a drastic difference.
Hope.
Yeah.
I remember I've spoken to 3 moms in the past 10 days, and that was the word every single one of them said to me is, I feel like I have hope now. And I remember Caroline, she thought I was crazy about the whole Barcelona thing. And Michelle hooked me up with Jordan Mann, who was Caroline's age, and we got them talking. And Caroline, she said, Mom, this is the first time I've had hope since all this has happened. And hope's a beautiful thing.
It's imperative. It's absolutely critical to the wellness of a person. Like, how can you continue to go on living if you have no hope? And that's honestly, it's a big deal, because I don't know the stats. I should have looked this up before, but I didn't prepare for this. Honestly, I was doing something else like 5 minutes before this meeting. So I just figured, you know what, so doing something's better than doing nothing. And I'm just going to start doing this. And the more I do it, the better I'll get at it, the more I can refine it and whatnot. But I have a very good friend who has Chiari malformation, and she was diagnosed a few years before Ashton and has just undergone a horrible experience. And it's my understanding, per what she told me, that the suicide rate for folks that have been diagnosed with Chiari malformation is significantly higher than the otherwise healthy population.
I believe that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when you really consider what these people are going through, some of the symptoms are so extreme, but you can't see it. And so I think that one of the biggest problems or struggles that people with kids, and I'm speaking from observation of my son's experience and of others that I've spoken with, but it's that they appear to be healthy, and so people don't understand, why is it that you can't do this? Why is it that it doesn't show up? It's not like having a cast on your arm and it's clear that you've broken it. It's different. And so when you see someone who otherwise appears very healthy having such a struggle, I feel like a lot of folks with Chiari don't feel like anybody believes them, and their doctors don't believe them. And then their doctors cause them to feel like they're crazy. And the hope that goes out the window when you can't even get your doctor to listen to you because they think that
you're making it up.
That's a serious issue with this condition. So it's definitely something that I'm going to stop talking and let you voice, your experience with that, because I think that it's incredibly relatable, and anybody who's watching this could be, could have some hope just from somebody understanding.
Yeah. When we were in Barcelona the first time, there was a gentleman in the waiting room that got up to go to the bathroom. And when he was walking away, my aunt goes, oh, look, he had decompression surgery, because his hair was short and you could see the scar, down the back. So I immediately got up and I went after him, and I said, did you have decompression surgery, and are you having Filum Sectioning Surgery? And he didn't speak English. He was from Russia, but he said, wait, he got his wife who could speak some English. And basically she said that when his symptoms came back, the doctors in Russia told him that he was psychotic, he was making it up, and they had put him on antipsychotic medication. After the surgery, we were on the same floor, and the wife came and got me and Anna and Caroline. So we walked down and we used the Google Translate and was able to have a conversation. And as far as I know, he's doing great.
Wow.
Yes.
And how many people, I wonder, how many people have gone and had the Filum release and come back and tried to have a conversation with their neurosurgeon to get absolutely nowhere?
Me.
I mean, I'm gonna tee up a little bit there. Tell us all about it.
When I came back, like I said, I made a promise I would advocate for it, and my girls were doing great. And I wrote a long letter to Caroline's neurosurgeon, and I said, when you released her as your patient, you said, good luck in finding answers. I said, guess what? We found our answers, and this is what it is. And I explained the whole process, procedure, everything. Radio silence, absolutely nothing. I I think his nurse had intercepted the letter, the email, excuse me. Fast forward about 2 months after that, my neighbor works in marketing at that hospital, and she said, "Guess who I'm interviewing tomorrow?" I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if it's legal to do that, but
Yeah, it's good to.
I'm entering the doctor that did brain surgery on Caroline. I said, "Really?" I said, "Just nonchalantly say, oh, you did brain surgery on my neighbor's daughter, and see what he says." So she texted me right after, and she said he wants to know what kind of surgery she had in Spain. So he never read the letter.
Wow.
Sorry about those beeps. That's my email coming in. So I tried to briefly to explain to my neighbor. I said, "Tell him this is what," and I specifically said, "It's not tethered cord surgery."
Yeah.
And she texted back and she said, "Oh, he said you took her there and she had tethered cord surgery." I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to hear about it. I've written letters to Sanjay Gupta, who's a neurosurgeon. I think he is on CNN. Nothing. I've even had, my husband and I met with a family in Macon.
Yeah.
About their son possibly going to Barcelona. But they wanted a second opinion at Duke. And I'm not going to mention that neurosurgeon's name, but that neurosurgeon looked their 21-year-old son in the eye and said, "If you go to Barcelona, you will come back paralyzed and you will have a stroke." And that kid goes, "Sign me up for brain surgery." Yeah.
Wow. That was a part.
And he knows nothing about the surgery.
For what purpose? Like, why? I don't understand the intention behind it. Like, what do you hope to achieve by lying, or like just not educating yourself prior to sharing your opinion? I mean, if you don't have a scientific opinion that you can share with your patient, then maybe it'd be better not to share one and just be upfront and say, "I'm not sure. Let me look into that." And if your feedback is based on your opinion, perhaps just keep it to yourself.
Exactly.
Or preface it with, "This is my opinion and I'm not sure." Like, that is not acceptable behavior by a professional. That's not acceptable at all.
And it reminds me of something else. Like when when I'm talking to people about it, and they're like, "Well, tell me what I should do." I said, "I'm not going to tell you what to do." I said, "I'm sharing our story." And we have the unique perspective that I've had one child that was decompressed, went to Barcelona, had Filum Sectioning Surgery, and is doing fantastic. And I have 2 children that were not decompressed, went to Barcelona, had the surgery, and they're doing great as well. This is kind of funny. I had a gentleman, in fact, he's there right now. He's having the surgery tomorrow. But I had a gentleman there. He was scheduled for decompression surgery. And, I asked him, I said, are you religious? Can you pray? Because I prayed a lot and I felt like God always answered my prayers. And he said, "I'm not really religious anymore because of everything that I'm going through right now." I said, "Well, I'll pray for you." And then the next day he texted me and he said, "Did God tell you what I'm supposed to do?" I said, "No, I prayed that he would let you know what you're supposed to do, because I'm not making that decision for you."
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see how he does. I know 2 people there right now that are having surgery tomorrow.
Yeah, amazing.
I always, late in the day, kind of look and see if they've posted anything.
Right.
Because I just have immediate relief. My kids had immediate relief in some areas, and it just gradually got better over time. Everybody's different.
My son as well. I mean, immediately, like almost, like miraculous outcome the day of surgery, in addition to other things just kind of constantly, continuously improving, and it's I think one of the nuances to that is that if you've been living with Chiari your whole life and you don't know what it's like to be in a body that's not suffering from this, then your body is adjusting to a new normal. And if you don't have the comparative of what it's like to not have Chiari, then you don't know what it's like to not have Chiari. So you might not know that it's, for example, one of the friend that I mentioned before, when my son and she sat down for the first time, she was asking him about his symptoms, and she was like, "Well, do you have this and do you have that?" type of thing. And one of the things that she asked him was, did he sometimes feel like he had things crawling on his head? like on or in. I can't remember which of those words she used, but I remember her asking him that question, and his answer was like, yeah, like I guess he just thought that
I thought
that's
that was normal.
a very normal experience. He didn't know that most people don't have that sensation. And so if you have your normal is your normal, and so your baseline is your baseline. So when you have the surgery and you're experiencing a new body, you might not the gradual shift is a little less noticeable right away, you know. So just maybe something a little something. A couple of things that you said really stuck out to me. And now I don't really remember what they are, but there's so much information. I feel like we both just, you know, we have so much that we want to give. And I find myself just racing through what I'm saying when I'm talking to somebody new, because I'm like, oh, I have all these things I want to tell you, and I can answer all your questions and whatever you need to know. Because there are so many questions when you first get started. So I'm assuming that we probably experience close to the same thing, but we might not. I wonder, when people first reach out to you, what is the most common question that you get from people?
Wow, that's a good question. Let me think about that. Probably symptoms and symptom relief, because that's what the bottom line is. You know, that's what they're looking for.
Right.
And interestingly enough, and you know this because you were there with your son, the Institute does not promise symptom relief. The purpose of the surgery is to stop the progression of the disease, if you will. However, with that being said, I think 95% of their patients do see symptom relief. And going back to something you said about the normalcy, I remember when Caroline did her testimonial video for the Institute, one of the things she did say, she had forgotten what a healthy person felt like. And now she knows again.
That's amazing.
I heard her over tell my mother, she said, "BB, I forgot what it feels like to be sick." That's powerful.
Absolutely.
And it just makes, you know, it makes you so happy, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard that saying, you're only as happy as your least happiest child. And when your child is sick, you feel sick. I mean, it weighs on you 24/7. It doesn't as a parent. It just doesn't.
Yeah, there's no words to really capture how difficult it is to have your child suffering to this degree and feel like you can't do anything about it. So it's a hopelessness, like multiplied, you know. So as far as symptoms go, I'll say, you know, I think the thing that was hard, one of the hardest things that I was observing as a mom, was my son became very reclusive. He just really stopped interacting with other humans. He just wasn't engaging in conversation as much, and was just kind of spending less and less time around other people. And it wasn't because he didn't want to, it was because it was too painful.
I think I remember you saying he didn't want to laugh anymore because his head hurt so badly, right?
Yep. So it was so challenging because he has such a freaking amazing group of friends, and they also hated watching him suffer. And so they wanted to, you know, come cheer him up and spend time with him. And, you know, they're like 19 at the time, so they're doing jackassery. It's what they do. And it was wonderful because they were there to lift him. But in the lifting, there was a price to pay, because the laughter would cause him to just be in such an immense amount of pain. So it was like, you know, kind of, he had to determine for himself how is it worth it, basically.
Right.
So yeah, he got to the point where sneezing and laughing were two things that were insanely painful. So I mean, just two things that you could try to imagine trying to live the rest of your life not doing either one of those things. And if you do it's not that he couldn't physically do it, it's that it was there was a hefty price to pay for it. So
I have another interesting story. So I paint furniture for a living, and I've been doing this for 20 years. And I have a longtime client that I love. I've been painting for her, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years. And her and her husband donated money to help my girls, you know, get the surgery. And last year she called me up crying, and she said, "You're not going to believe this. My son just got diagnosed with what your girls have, Chiari malformation."
Wow.
I said, "Oh my gosh." I said, "Who's his neurosurgeon?" And same neurosurgeon as my daughter.
Hmm.
And so my husband and I went over to their house and we talked about Barcelona. Ultimately, her son ended up going to Barcelona, and she texted me right after surgery. She said, "This is the first time he woke up in 8 years without a headache."
Wow.
Yes.
He
Yes.
woke up from surgery with no headache.
With no headache. He'd wake up every day for 8 years with a headache. Yes. Yes. And even his parents said, "We don't know who this person is anymore. He's depressed. He's
Yeah.
angry. He's gaining weight. He can't exercise, you know."
Right.
And when you have a
Yep.
headache every day of your life, I can understand why, you know.
Yeah. Right. Of
Um,
course.
but and that story reinvigorated me. So I rewrote another long letter to our neurosurgeon. Didn't hear anything back. Not one word.
Interesting. Interesting. I will say though that, I mean, I love that you just used that word reinvigorated, because I would say that's kind of exactly where I am. Ashton is 2 years out from his surgery. His surgery was 10/24/23. So basically like the anniversary of his surgery. Ever, you know, and for the last 2 years, October is just like such a special time. And it just brings everything sort of back to top of mind. And then also recently connecting with Jamie, that doesn't live far from me, and her daughter had the surgery recently, and everything went exceptionally well. Pretty much exactly the same.
I
Yeah,
think I spoke to her over the
I've
phone.
seen you guys communicate in the
Okay.
group.
See, I
Yeah.
didn't even know that they had
So
gone.
that's who I spent like probably like 5 hours
So
with the
she's
first
doing
time I met.
well. She's doing
She's doing
well.
great. She's doing
Oh,
great. Doing
that makes
great.
me
Just
feel
pretty
good.
much the same. I mean, pretty much the same experience that your children and my son have had.
Do you think we should do a brief little rundown on the difference between brain decompression surgery and filum sectioning surgery, because it's so different?
You know what? I would love for you to do that. And I would love if you would, I mean, all of this prefaced with, we are not doctors.
Right, yes,
Okay.
of course.
All of this prefaced with, our understanding is,
Correct.
from what we have heard, from what we have read, this is our understanding. And we are not giving medical advice to anyone. We're sharing our stories and what we have been told, and our interpretation of what we've been taking in the last 2-3 years or whatever. Yeah, and I don't know if you're comfortable with it, but because you specifically said that your neurosurgeon said that's just tethered cord surgery.
Okay, yeah. So let me,
Yeah.
okay. I'll just do a brief. So brain decompression surgery, which is one of my daughters had that surgery. What they do is they go and they make an incision in the back of your head and like part of down by your neck. And they remove bone from the base of your skull, bone from the top of your spinal cord, and then they put a Dura patch around the lining of your brain to try to kind of lift it. And then Carolyn had 18 staples down the back of her head. If you Google it, brain decompression surgery is one of the most painful brain surgeries that's out there, and it's highly invasive. And as we know, not necessarily effective. Dr. Rojo Salvador in Barcelona is a neurosurgeon, and 40 years ago, that's all they did was brain decompression surgery, just like in the United States. Well, 1 year later, his patient came back and he said, everything looks great. But she said, well, my symptoms are back. And unlike our neurosurgeon who said, bye-bye, he wanted to know why. So he decided to look at the entire central nervous system. So he looked at the brain, the neck, the spinal cord, and the sacrum area, which is the lower part of your back. And he noticed a ligament called the filum, that if it was thick, fatty, or inelastic, it caused this pulling like effect on the spinal cord, which he believes is the reason for the descent of the cerebral tonsils to fall into the opening of the spinal cord. So they make a 1-inch incision at the base of your spine. They clip the ligament. It releases the tension, and hopefully the brain kind of floats back up. And as a result, all 3 of my kids' symptoms were gone.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
And they just took what, Tylenol after surgery?
Tylenol. All he was given was Tylenol. It's all he needed.
We're walking around Barcelona 2 days later. My son walked into the apartment. He said, I feel fine. He said, I think I'm going to go to France. So he hopped on a train by himself and went to
Are you
France.
serious?
Yeah, went to France to visit a friend
Oh,
that was
that is
studying abroad.
fantastic.
stayed there for 3 days and then took the train back. Yeah.
That's amazing. That is really cool. I didn't know that. That is really cool. Okay. Thank you for that.
That's a little tutorial from what
Yeah,
I
well,
know.
you know,
and then talking about the tethered cord thing. So
yes.
I don't know much about tethered cord, but what I do know, the difference between filum sectioning surgery and tethered cord surgery is that filum sectioning surgery is done outside the dura. So they do not have to open the dura, which is much more invasive. And that's what they do with tethered cord. They go inside the dura, where this is outside the dura, which makes it less invasive.
Yeah.
That's my best explanation.
Yeah. Well, this is I mean, even if it was the same thing, let's just pretend that the phylum release was the same thing as tethered cord. If it is producing these extraordinarily different and better results with a less invasive option, then why aren't we discussing it? Why are we going straight to cutting the back of people's heads out? And I will also say, how many, I mean, in these groups that we're in, so that's how Margo and I met. Was I was in a Facebook group that was a Chiari malformation Facebook group, and I spent almost all of my extra time in there, primarily looking for symptom relief because my son was suffering and he was declining very rapidly, which I kind of want to get back to because that's something that you mentioned. You know, your daughter was just declining, and I kind of want to come back to that in a second. So I was in this Facebook group just kind of trying to find anything that I could that might be helpful to him, whether it be a specific type of pillow. Sometimes I would see something like that. There were specific type of ice packs that would wrap like around the shoulders and up the neck and back of head. There were people who were saying they'd taken this specific supplement and this kind of, like, there was all kinds of stuff in there that people were posting that they'd found to be helpful. So I was spending time in there looking for those types of resources. There was also a lot of really horrible stories in there. There was a lot of really horrible stories in there. And I can't tell you the times I've seen people talk about going back for decompression again. I don't know who's had the most, but I know that there are people that are in the double digits of times that they've had. And I'm like, I know this might sound extreme, but I'm like, what are they doing? Are they walking around with a helmet on? Like, how can you continually cut out the more and more of the back of the skull? I don't know. I'm not a neurosurgeon. It's just frustrating when you see something like that and you know that there's an option that would actually stop the progression. So clearly this thing is continually getting worse over time, but you could just keep cutting out the back parts of people's heads for them to have maybe a little bit of symptom relief for a short period of time, and then it just comes back.
Right. For me,
what are we doing?
Caroline, it was like, if it didn't work the first time, why would I go back and do it a second time? There's no way. There's no way.
Well, and that's to say, I do know some people who have had decompression surgery and had a very positive experience. So that's out there too. That's out there too. And neither one of us are trying to tell anybody what to do. We're sharing our experiences that we've had and the conversations we've had with others.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing that's heartbreaking to me is the amount of people who, I'm going to say my kids are very lucky. They had a lot of support from their parents, family, friends. But a lot of people who do not have the family support, I can't even imagine going through that. It's just hard. It really is, to read all those stories. And I read all those stories still because that's how I reach out to people, by sharing our story.
Right. And it's how you stay motivated. Yeah, because you have to keep it top of mind. It would be easy. I think there's a lot of people who have the surgery, they do really well, and you never hear from them again. It's because they're out there enjoying their life, which is fantastic. It's fantastic. So it does. I think this is what it takes. It takes continuing to have the conversation repeatedly, and I'm happy to be. And I'm not doing it as much as you, but I sure do appreciate you, and happy to be in it with you in some sort of way.
Oh, me too. Me too.
So I had said that Webb's going to come back to something, and I don't remember what it was now. Oh, the symptoms, the decline happening so quickly. Yeah.
And I have noticed that in a lot of the stories that I've read, and also the people that I've spoken with. It seems like once their symptoms start, it's almost like a spiraling effect. They just, like you said, go into a rapid decline phase.
Mhm.
So it's just, this condition comes with so many weird, strange things.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
There's some
and the
pretty,
comorbidities, the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, mast cell activation syndrome, and POTS. One of mine had POTS as well. And when she woke up from the surgery, she said it was like 85% improvement of her POTS symptoms.
incredible.
Yep.
Absolutely incredible. And so for those who don't know, what is POTS?
Okay, POTS stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And it's kind of like a blood circulation disorder. So the blood does not flow properly through your body. So when you go from a laying to sitting position or sitting to standing position, because your blood does not flow properly, your brain tells your heart to beat faster. That's the tachycardia part of it, to pump the blood. And as a result, your blood pressure drops and you get really dizzy, feel lightheaded, sometimes pass out. But like I
Dangerous.
said, 85% improvement upon awakening from the surgery in Spain.
Same day as surgery.
And, and I've also talked to people or read about people who have gone there that they had symptom relief from symptoms that they didn't even think were Chiari related.
Yeah. Such as anything stick out? Anything like?
There was one lady, she had some like stabbing pain in her ribs or something. I don't know, but that was fun. Yeah.
Well, I mean, with it being neurological, like it's going to be complex.
Yes.
It's going to be complex. Symptoms are probably going to be complex. So, again, like I'm not a doctor, but my son's story was that he did have symptoms, nearly all his life, as far as he had headaches for so long. And one of the reasons that so we tried to help him with his headaches. We couldn't figure out what was going on. He had an MRI when he was a freshman in high school. Our chiropractor ordered it. No, there were no significant findings to that, which at the time I felt very relieved. And then when he was a senior, he was playing football and he got a concussion playing football, and he was not recovering from this concussion well at all. Okay. It was not looking great. And so again, same chiropractor was like, hey, he should be doing better by now. I want to take a look. So he ordered an MRI. I just want to take a little bit of a segue and say, I think that it's sad that we don't have imaging of our heads done with more ease and more frequency. When people have symptoms that are neurological or even mental and emotional wellness out of check, why aren't we looking? Like if my knee hurts, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So it's just something that I think about. But so we got the MRI results as a senior, and he had Chiari malformation. So what's interesting is that it was on his MRI. It just got missed. Whoever read the MRI when he was a freshman missed it. So it was there. But I honestly, I'm glad that it was missed, because I think about this a lot. If we had learned then that he had Chiari malformation, would the Facebook group be as robust as it was? Your daughters wouldn't have had their experience, so you wouldn't have shared that story. I wouldn't have heard about it, and he probably would have had decompression surgery here.
Right.
So the timing of it is perfectly fine.
I feel like Caroline was the guinea pig for our family, as well as many others. I honestly, I don't know. When we talk about this, sometimes we say, would we have had the courage to go to Barcelona the first, and not do decompression surgery? Because, everybody thinks, oh, the doctors in the United States, if it's not happening here, it's not good,
Right.
I don't know, but we took that leap of faith and it worked out. It definitely worked out.
Well, and I think that's why you and I are doing what we're doing, right? Because I very distinctly remember the first conversation I had with you. I could tell you all kinds of details about that night. There's stuff that sticks out, right? So I remember that you were like, yeah, I can talk to you. Give me 15 minutes. And I was like, oh, wow. I mean, I was just like, oh, she can talk right now. Like I was and you and I are very similar in that way, that we're like foot on the gas kind of people, like.
Oh, I always say when I hit go, I don't stop.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we share. So, I mean, immediately, I just loved you immediately. So, I mean, I get on the phone with you, and the first question that you asked me was what his symptoms were. And you just giving me the space to share that alone, just that one thing, Margo, just you saying, tell me about him. What are his symptoms? Giving me a chance to tell somebody that wasn't like, you got it. You understood. It was so important for me to be able to just have a few moments to just tell you those things. And then to have you be like, yeah, my daughter's that, this daughter has that, this daughter has that, a little bit of the symptom comparison. It's not like we spend a ton of time on it, but I'd never had a conversation with anybody else who really like just gave me the held space for me to be able to do that. So that really sticks out. But I got on a tangent there. I don't remember what we were talking about.
Look, I'm getting on it too, and it's like,
I think ideally the purpose, that my intention with this is that that we're providing somebody some information they otherwise wouldn't have, so that they have options, because that's where the hope is. The hope lives inside the options. If you don't feel like there are any options, that's when your hope dies. And so even with a decompression option, I think that does give people hope. That's great. However, like there might be something better. So I like that we can put information out there that provides people yet another option, and then they can do the research and listen to the stories and do the things that it's going to take for them to be comfortable. I can say, as somebody who's been through this, I don't know what it would be like for everyone. I also had that thought, like, am I actually thinking about taking him out of this country for a surgery? I think it's a very normal thing to think. And it's normal emotion to feel doubtful about that. But I can tell you, like, on this side of it, and I honestly, but let me just also say this. I don't really give a shit who I piss off. And quite frankly, I'm here to piss some people off, because I'm starting to ask myself a question, especially after some of the stuff you just said. Who do we need to piss off? I think maybe that's what we need to do. Who do we need to piss off to be heard?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for you, whoever you are. I'm looking for you. So I'm a pissed off mom, and guess what? There isn't a stronger energy in the universe than a pissed off mom.
You got it.
You better be prepared, because we're coming at you. So I'm getting fired up. But it's hard not to, because this is like, it's not acceptable. This information isn't more freely accessible. It's not acceptable that the surgery isn't available here. So that's a question that I frequently get when I ask, like, what's the number one question that you get about this? That's definitely one of the top ones. People are always asking me that.
Another one too is cost.
Mm-hmm.
People are very curious.
Of course.
And can we talk about that on here?
Absolutely. I mean, if it's like I can, I don't know why we couldn't. We're sharing our stories,
I will tell you, Carolyn's decompression surgery was $200,000. Now, obviously,
holy shit, are you serious?
Yeah. No, I'm serious.
I did not.
Obviously, insurance covered the majority of that.
That is staggering.
But the surgery, the Filum Sectioning Surgery, this is in US dollars, $21,300. People pay $60,000 for a car. Now, I know $21,000 is a lot of money to a lot of people. It's a lot of money to me.
Of course.
I drive a 18-year-old car right now, 18-year-old, 2007. But I feel like you can't put a price tag on your health.
Right.
And if I had to take out a loan to bring my kids, that's what I would have done.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't do it alone. We had friends donate, family donate, our church donate, strangers donate. And if there's a will, there's a way. There's a sweet lady. I would love to mention her name, but I can't. Her son had the surgery about 8 weeks ago.
Okay.
I live in a small town in New York, and I don't know if she has ties with the firefighters, but they were doing a fundraiser for her, and they expected about 250 people to show up. She texted me. She said we had 1,500 people show up.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Raised all of the funds to get her son there. And
that is awesome.
Great. He's doing great.
That's so awesome. And that's not easy to do right now. I mean, stuff is rough out here. That's, wow, that's so cool.
But I will say the $21,300 covers pre-op, which is very extensive. It covers blood work, scoliogram, your anesthesia consult. It covers the surgery, anesthesia, and your one-night stay in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
then,
basically an all-in-one. Like,
yeah, and you know, you obviously have to have travel expenses to get there.
Mhm.
And I always say food's a wash. You got to eat whether you live here or you're there, you know.
True. Well, I would say, actually, I would say it's not, because it's so much less expensive to eat
That's
there.
true.
Like, it's way more
That is
affordable.
true.
Food
That is
is
true.
so much cheaper there. So, yeah, the expenses,
And
the
I
surgery
will
and
mention
travel.
too, obviously our insurance didn't cover any of it. But I do know some people
Mhm.
who have Blue Cross Blue Shield. I know some people that had their surgery completely covered, and I
Awesome.
know others that have Blue Cross Blue Shield that had it partially covered. So that's
Good
just
job, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
to keep
Keep
in
that shit
mind.
up.
You know, and it's interesting when my third child got diagnosed, I contacted our insurance company and I said, so you'll pay $200,000 for him to have brain decompression surgery, but you will not pay something that's 1/8 of the price and actually works because I have living proof of it. Wouldn't do
Right.
it. It's
Isn't that
so
interesting?
good.
It's a really good point, because they'll pay an exorbitant amount of money for a surgery that only treats symptoms and frequently requires
Additional
multiple,
surgeries.
yeah, that
Oh,
surgery to be repeated multiple times.
yes. Yep.
Math's not
Unnecessary.
mathing.
Does not. Oh, and then also one last thing on the financial aspect of it.
Mhm.
The Institute does have a need-based grant, which is 2,000 euros off the surgery. And they also, I don't know if you know this, but they also give a family discount. So if you
I
have
did not
multiple
know that.
children like I did, I can't remember. I think it was around an additional $1,500 off per child
Good.
after the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like buy one, get two discount.
You got a BOGO over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I wish it was BOGO, buy one, get
yeah,
one
not
free.
true BOGO. Yeah. Okay, so that leads me to ask about what you've been told from your neurosurgeons or any medical professionals in the United States as to what the cause is of Chiari. I definitely want to know what you've been told.
I don't know that they ever said anything, but my understanding it's a malformation of the skull. So the
Okay.
skull did not completely form, which leaves room for the brain to fall, you know, into the opening of the spinal cord. I will say this. I believe Chiari malformation is widely misdiagnosed and undiagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
I see people with multiple sclerosis symptoms that are the exact same symptoms that my kids had. And I
Mm-hmm.
often wonder, because I know one girl, I won't say her name, but she was misdiagnosed. They thought she had MS. And she's doing fantastic now after the surgery in Spain.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Shoot, there was something else she said that triggered a thought. Now I can't remember what it was. It'll come
Well,
to me.
the reason that I asked that question is because that's
I
been what
remember.
I've been told, is that that they believe, and this is the interesting part to me, is that they will say it is believed to be a misshapen skull, that they don't know. If you so if you Google it right now, not you, but people
Yeah.
watching. If you Google what the cause of Chiari is, the answer that you will get in the United States is, and I actually, let me take that back, because I don't know anything about tech either. So your browser might, whatever, and whatever that is. But what has happened from me is when I Google that, it says that it's caused due to a misshapen skull. I could probably find that, specific websites that say that are neurosurgical institutions in the United States, that's what they will say on their website. So what's interesting to me about that is that they are saying that they're theorizing that that is the cause. So why I have issue with that is that when people ask me why don't they do the surgery in the United States, I have not asked a neurosurgeon that, because we have not seen neurosurgeons since I haven't talked to anybody about neurosurgery in the United States since I talked to you, Margo. We were done with that conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about some of the other conversations I've observed happening on the Facebook group. and what I see people say. And so it's not uncommon at all for me to see in those comments, in those conversations on Facebook, that neurosurgeons are saying that the reason they don't do the surgery, the filum release surgery here in the United States, is that there's not enough evidence that it's effective.
Correct.
And I have serious issue with that. And so this is where I hope I am pissing somebody off, because if you are going to cut out the back part of someone's skull, and what are we, cauterizing brains and putting in mesh and all kinds of stuff?
Yep.
Like we're doing all kinds of really risky stuff back there to only treat symptoms based off of a fucking theory. Again, the math's not mathing. So you're telling me that you're willing to do all of that based off of a theory. You're not even sure what's causing it, but yet you won't do a minimally invasive surgery that's been performed in Spain for over 40 years successfully and claim that it's because there's not enough evidence.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand it. But I remember my thoughts. So my understanding too is there's two types of Chiari. There's congenital, supposedly you're born with this misshapen skull. And then there's acquired Chiari. Have you heard that?
I've not heard that. Okay.
So acquired Chiari could be trauma to the head.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. The day that my son had surgery, there was a lady I had been talking to from Baltimore, 54 years old, never, perfectly fine her entire life, sitting on her suitcase. And you know how they roll and twist around? And she was letting a little boy push her around, and he pushed her back, and she hit her head really hard on the hardwood floor. And that can cause the brain to be pushed into the opening of the spinal cord.
Oh, wow.
So my understanding of that would be acquired Chiari. She had surgery on the same day as Ben. All of her symptoms are gone. And the two of us are going on a cruise together next week. We've remained friends.
Awesome. Okay, well, have fun. I'm sure you will. That is incredible. So that's some stuff to chew on there.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I hear or observe. When I say hear, I actually mean read, in the comments on the Facebook groups, that it sounds to me and it seems to me like quite a few people have, maybe they've even been diagnosed with Chiari prior to head injury, but the head injury like exacerbates it or
makes
causes
it even
symptoms
slip further down.
Or becomes the reason the condition is identified, because no scans were taken prior. So you got people who are suffering with all these conditions and no one's looking, no one's scanning, no one's saying, oh, wonder what's going on in there. Let's take a peek. We're just going to go ahead and continue to give you medication and just take these medicines. And then a head injury happens and the progression or, the symptoms just take so quickly that then they're taking an image because there's been, trauma that causes them to take an image. And that's when they find that this person is suffering from Chiari. So that's another reason why I'm like, why are we not taking imaging earlier?
Right.
Why is it that people are having to go through whiplash or concussion of some kind or some sort of head trauma in order to be diagnosed with this condition?
Something else we might want to mention to others is that they require 4 MRI images for proper diagnosis. That's one of the head, one of the neck, the spine, and the sacrum area. Once you send your MRIs to them, you typically find out within 3 to 5 days if you're a candidate for the surgery. And then if you are a candidate and you decide to move forward, I think scheduled probably can get you in somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks after that point. And when you're coming from out of the country, they do pre-ops on Mondays and Wednesdays and the surgery the following day, which will be a Tuesday or a Thursday. And then you stay about 8 days after surgery for an incision check, and then you're free to go home. So that's important for people.
Absolutely.
I don't want to know what that process looks like. They're very, very responsive. You don't have to wait for anything. Shoot, there was one, it's going to come back to me. There was one other thing I wanted to mention on that.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the time frame, because comparatively to the United States, it's significant as well. And I think it's actually when I've voiced that to people before, like, no, they're going to get back to you pretty quickly. It's almost like they think that they're just saying yes to everybody. Like,
I
no,
know.
no, 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 you don't get it. But they don't. Of course they don't, because they haven't been there and they haven't had interactions with the team, the wonderful team of people there. So it can feel a little bit like, how could they possibly say, look at all these scans that quickly and get back to me, that because they're that efficient, because they're that professional, because they're that great at their jobs.
When
They
I was when I was there with my son, I had been talking with a lady from the United States, and she happened to be vacationing in Barcelona at that time. So she hand delivered her daughter's MRIs, and she was deemed not a candidate.
oh,
I
okay,
do
gotcha.
know personally, I know personally a few people who have been
Right.
denied.
I know
So-
one that's been denied as well. The story as to why she was denied is heartbreaking, but it's because she had failed decompression here that they cannot fix.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a different scenario. Like, so obviously you have a daughter who had decompression here that is, you said was a failed decompression, and was able to have surgery in Barcelona.
thank
This
God.
particular individual had a failure significant enough, I don't know what I can and can't say, that cannot be fixed due to
Negligence, maybe? Is that the word?
maybe.
Okay.
So now nothing can be done.
The other thing maybe listeners may also want to know is that once, if you're deemed a candidate and you still feel a little uneasy about it, you can do a 1 hour Zoom call with the neurosurgeon. And it's 250 euros, which is about, I don't know, $275 American dollars. And you can get all of your questions answered by that neurosurgeon. And I don't know if you know about this, Frankie, but I was a participant in this, but I think every couple months, the Institute is having a Zoom session, and you can
Okay.
sign up, and they usually have one or two people that have been to the Institute. So Caroline and I were on that panel, and they have neurosurgeon, and then they have one of the coordinators there. And
Okay.
we had maybe like 20 people on the call, and we could converse, see each other,
Awesome.
answer questions, kind of like what we're doing, but you can join in on that.
Okay.
And I think you can go to their website and it'll tell you when the next date is.
Okay. Well, I can reach out to the team too and just say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm available. If you would like for me to loop in, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Because I want to make this a higher priority. Everybody's got a lot of stuff going on, lots of goals, lots of stuff happening. And it doesn't make this any less important. So I feel really grateful to you for spending the time today. And I know there's so much we didn't cover. Like like when I spend 5 hours with a person and I still didn't feel it. I mean, she still had questions. There is a lot to cover, but I'm happy to do it. And so what I'll do with this recording is I'll just put it on YouTube. I will probably reach out to my cousin who has offered to help and see if there might be a way to make it like a podcast link to. I don't know anything about that part of things, so I'm just going to ask for help from people who have offered. But I know there's a way in YouTube to just put links. So I'll put a link to the Institute itself, and possibly some other links for some resources for folks so they can, do some research.
Do you want me to send you the link to Caroline and Anna's testimonial video?
Sure. Yeah.
Put that on as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. My son hasn't done one of those. I'm sure he would. That's one of those things where I don't want him to be like, I'm happy to take the role of the action taker here. I want him to just be living his life and having a good time, and
exactly how I feel.
I don't want him to be like reliving this all the time, but I also know that he feels incredibly passionate about it and is very willing to be supportive in ways that he can. So I don't, does the Institute do I don't know how that review thing happens. Is it just something you did and provided to them?
No, they put it on, and then
Okay.
I was just invited, like you were invited me today.
Okay.
Join. Yes.
Okay. Good deal. Well, maybe that's something he can do. He's I don't know. He's pretty articulate. He could probably do a pretty good job of that. So that's awesome. Do you have anything? I would say let's just we'll wrap up this one today. And I don't know if you're willing, but maybe we can just do another one.
Sure.
You know, and kind of cover some of the stuff that we know we didn't cover today. But for now, I say let's just close with, like, you know, what's the most important thing that you want anybody who has listened this long through, like, has consumed an hour worth of our conversation, is somebody who is looking for help,
Well, I think
answers.
for you, something you said earlier is another option, a
Mhm.
less invasive option. Had
Mhm.
I not been on Facebook and I had
Yeah,
not seen Michelle Gibson's post, I don't know where we'd be. I
yeah,
think one of my
right.
kids might be dead by now, honestly. I hate to say that, but it was so bad.
Possible.
And the one last thing too, I'll share, and we're kind of going off tangent here, but one of my son, who had the greatest degree of herniation, which was 9 millimeter, one
Mhm.
daughter 8 millimeter, one daughter 2 millimeter. My son, who had the greatest herniation, had the least symptoms.
I'm so
And
glad you brought that up.
my daughter, who had um, the least herniation, had been suffering for 4 years, but we didn't know why. And she's the one that also had Pott's disease.
Mm.
Um, so there's no rhyme or reason to this thing. You
Yeah,
could be 1 millimeter herniation and feel like you're dying, you know?
yeah,
So
right,
the herniation does not matter. The
right.
symptoms do.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because this hasn't been my experience, but it's been what I've observed other people experience, that their doctors, their neurosurgeons here will tell them that it's not descended far enough for it to be a problem. Like, no,
Right.
that's not bad enough yet. We're not going to do anything about that because it's not bad enough. Where they're not leading with the quality, they're not considering the quality of life that this person has, or lack thereof, as a way to make a decision regarding their treatment.
Mhm.
And that's another thing that doesn't seem to make any sense to me. And again, I am not a doctor, but if the herniation, we're only talking about the length of it falling, like how far down it goes, right?
Right.
But is there a way that they can, I mean, if it's completely blocking the flow of CSF, it could be a small herniation and be a big blockage, right?
I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question, because for me now, it's
Mm-hmm.
the phylum disease that's obviously causing the majority of their symptoms, because
Mm-hmm.
they're gone now,
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like you said, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to, it's hard to say.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Well, and I'm glad we continually acknowledge that we're not doctors. So,
Sometimes I feel like
again,
one.
I definitely do not. I've never felt like that, but I will tell you what, I'm not a doctor, but I am a pissed off mom.
Yep.
And I'm not like, so um I'm sure the more I do this and the more conversations I have, I'm sure I'll get into moments where I get pretty emotional, because it takes you back to a place of suffering that's hard to relive. But my energy around it right now is just, it's actually very good and positive and light, because he's happy, he's healthy, he's excelling in life. He's moved from Kansas to Seattle on his own. He's living limitlessly.
Yes.
That's nothing he would ever have been able to do. Like, there's just no way. So um it's easier for me to stay in this space of joy and gratitude. I'm wearing my grateful shirt
Oh.
today. This is the shirt I wore the day of his surgery,
Oh.
and I wore a shirt the next day that says miracle.
Oh.
And I'm, I probably just rotate between this and the other shirt when I do these videos, because these are the shirts, and I mean, that I am grateful, and I believe that we got to witness what seemed like a miracle. So yeah, we can get into that another time. We're over an hour. I appreciate you so much.
Oh. Thank
Um,
you.
I do hope that we can do this again, and I hope that in doing this, that we're really able to maximize some information for some people, and touch, um, you know, broader, get more information to more people more quickly. Yeah, I guess that's it. Do you
Okay.
have anything else that you want to add?
I think I'm okay for right now. But
Okay.
I guess I will add, my name is Margo Prestel, Prestel. And if anybody wants to message me through Facebook, feel free to. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You might get you might get a lot more. That's
I'll just try to keep up.
very generous offer. If you decide you don't want to do that, that's okay. The amount of time you spend with people is extraordinary. It's truly it's a big deal.
Thank you.
It's a really big deal. Okay, my friend, I will wrap it up, and we will talk about maybe popping on and doing this again sometime in the near future.
Thanks, Frankie.
All right.
Best of luck with everything.
Thank you. We'll talk
Bye,
soon.
my friend.
Bye.